It's time for Myth of the Week.
Alright, awesome. Myth number 97, new to the myth list. It's pretty funny because everyone's calling that area that's in the circle, they're calling that a location, an outdoor outlet, and that's fine, but are you going to apply the Chapter 3 wiring methods to that? And I know firsthand, if you open that compartment, that most of the components that are in that equipment are only permitted to be installed in a dry location. So there's going to be contactors, there's going to be capacitors, and also we have our first answer in there. Yeah, false. All right. So yeah, we got a false coming in the comments. And the thing that's funny about this is, like, the manufacturer doesn't really give you much instructions on this, and I think that's kind of where this comes into a weird thing, because they have like capacitors and contactors and all kinds of stuff in there. So if we were to, say run, like let's just say 3-aught for voltage drop, let's just say, they don't give us any instructions on how much room we need for that 3-aught going into that compartment. Well, we might have less room than what the NEC permits, but the manufacturer would permit us because they would know we have to put 3-aught to that equipment or whatever. So there might be some allowances that the UL standard would give us that the NEC would not. So it's kind of weird, a weird crossing thing. Like, there's other people out there, I'm not going to mention all the different names out there, but they actually think that the outlet is at the load side terminals where that number 1 arrow is pointed to at the disconnect. So they would say that's the outlet, and then the equipment is just connected to that outlet, and then the switch is part of that outlet. That's kind of a strange one too, but it's a lot of fun, And
well, I'm going to prove that wrong tonight, Gopher fan.
Yeah.
I'm going to show exactly what the code says, and it's not going to be something where I'm just giving my opinion on something. I'm going to show you exactly what the code language says and show where there's discrepancies. Okay. And I want to comment one thing on this, Bill, right here. You look at the disconnecting means. All you have to do is go to Article 100 to look at disconnecting means. It says a device or group of devices. You go pick up a device, that could be a switch, it could be a circuit breaker, a disconnecting means, it could be all kinds of things. Well, I can tell you where you have a circuit breaker at the panel board, that's not an outlet, it's a device. And what's interesting about that is that was the first location everybody was telling us, Ryan Jackson and Jeremy, although Jeremy says he never said that now, Ted Fritz, my coat, all of them. And I said, no, that isn't right. I explained why. Well, then what ended up happening, they changed their location. The second place they changed it was actually in the AC unit there where the terminations were made. And I said, okay, let me ask you this. I said, I know AC units. I've been inside that equipment. And I said, I can tell you it ain't rated for a wet location. Are you telling me that it has to be, if I'm going to classify by the NEC, there's an outlet there, you telling me that I do not have to take and have it classified as a wet location? But if I looked at that disconnect right there, it is classified for a wet location. Why do I got to do it from one to other? And I said, if you actually, and I brought this up, and we had a very good presentation we did on the High Voltage Live podcast, and I went through and showed the equipment has to be designed by UL standards, but they also design it by the National Electrical Code and also by any other standards that would apply. So I'll give you an example. If I look at that disconnecting means there, and I'm coming into the bottom of that, okay, do I need to go over and look at 312.6 A and B? where I'm coming into an enclosure, and depending on if I have an L bend, S or Z bend, I have to have so much clearance where those conductors come in? Sure, you do, and that's
Oh,
based on the
you just
national.
lost a hater, James. Aw, man. We're having such
Well,
good code discussion too.
well. See, this is part of the problem. If you disagree with the guys at ECD, they come in to say, "Yeah, ridiculous! I'm out of here. Screw you." They don't want to listen to what I'm about to show here, and I'm giving
Yeah.
examples here where I'm talking about what. When you look at UL standards, they take every standard into consideration when they're designing that equipment. So if I have a standard, and I'll give an example, another one. If I have EVSE equipment, they tell me not to provide GFCI protection because they already got it, but yet they're going to quote the code to me and tell me, oh, and we've already heard this. They said you need 2 GFCI protections on it. Well, no, you don't, because that piece of equipment was designed by UL standards, the National Electrical Code, and any other standards they need to look at. Everything was taken into consideration at that point.
All right,
So,
so I'm gonna cover this one right here. So our logic is if you have this, and this happened to us before. So we had an apartment complex with 330 units that had factory whips that came off of these units, and all we had to do is just plug them into the disconnect. So where is the freaking outlet? The NEC doesn't cover factory wiring. So now you're just gonna say now it's at the AC disconnect all of a sudden, and then the AC disconnect doesn't even really have to be attached to the premises. So it's just that's where it runs into problems there, you know. So
well,
I
Dr.
mean,
Fan,
you could say it's bad logic, but I'm just saying. I mean, we're going off. You know, the NEC is not governed in a UL standard listed piece of equipment.
Didn't they come on one time and didn't they tell me my logic didn't make any sense and I was a freaking moron and a dipshit and all this other stuff because I told them the TIA that co-making panel 2 wrote would not stand because it lacked technical merit. And they told me that I didn't understand the co-making process, blah, blah, blah. And then Ryan Jackson, woo, he goes to the General Assembly, gives a speech, and then you got Thomas Dmitrovich post, he did the mic drop. Well, then it got to the Standards Council. What happened? I said they used the TIA. I said what happened because it actually had technical merit to it. This is where they came on to our podcast that last time and telling us we were morons, blah, 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 blah. And I go through every bit of this and told them what was going to happen and what happened. So if there's no outlet, then we'll put that back up there.
Yeah, sorry.
What the hell does the service point to the equipment have to do with anything?
Yeah,
what type of equipment you talking going to? Are we going to a transformer? Are you going to tell me I have an outlet at a transformer that's outside and I need to take and put GFCI protection? You know, this is the type of stuff you want to talk to us about logic, Gopher fan. But I'm giving you logic. You're doing a broad term there that can mean anything. I can pick all types of equipment out there. Okay. I go over to a motor that's in an industrial facility and it's out in an area that's a damp location. I can tell you 100% fact. I've been to facilities all over the world. That motor didn't have GFCI protection. Okay. Yep. But besides that, that's not even what we're getting into here. We're going to get in and talk about sizing here. Okay. Because they said our logic doesn't make sense. So we'll go over at the definition of premise wiring or conductors from the service point to the outlet. No kidding. Okay. And we're going to explain that tonight to you. Okay. And if there is no outlet, what are those conductors? It's a termination, like I've been telling y'all for 3 years now. But I'm gonna prove it to you tonight.
So they're branch circuit conductors. They're not like if you go and you put that like me and James and I have argued this before. Like if you take that disconnect I know that's going to be just like a typical pull-out with no freaking fuses in it. But there are pull-outs that they put fuses in. That doesn't change the definition from a feeder to a branch circuit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, or change from a branch circuit to a feeder. Like, there's no way you could change that just by putting fuses in the same exact disconnect. Same
Well,
exact style.
I would even go a little further. They're basically saying NFPA are a bunch of morons because all you got to do is go look in Annex D and it shows you the calculation and tells you exactly their branch circuit conductors going over to that fusible disconnect. So I guess NFPA is a bunch of morons too. I mean, but it goes to show you, even when you show them something in the code where they're doing this exactly the way we were doing it, they just ignored it at that point. It's like it never happened.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Well, and my whole thing to Gopher Pan is, so Mike Holt's saying that the load side terminals of that disconnect are an outlet. So I thought the outlet ended at the branch circuit. So now what do you call the conductors going from the load side terminals to the unit?
Well,
Especially if they're factory wired equipment. Then now what do you call it? You call it still part of the branch circuit?
well, just keep Gopher Fan on because we're gonna get him off there right now. I'm gonna show him here. Okay. Now here's a comment from Jeremy Lee. The box supports the fan, dipshit. Okay, no kidding. And that's what I was trying to tell him beforehand. Then he says the box, and he says, now watch this. Article 314 is the outlet, device, and junction boxes. Now watch this. The outlet is in the box, just like a device and junction are. Now let me explain something here. If I have a device, I have conductors in there, I'm doing pigtails, cable clamps, just all kinds of stuff that's in here. I can have my equipment grounding conductors. I can have conductors that are passing through. I could have non-metallic sheet cables coming in two different directions and making splices. Guess what? I have to count for that conductor field. Okay?
True.
So by what he's saying here is, how do I take, if the outlet is inside the box, how do I count? How many conductors do I count for that outlet?
Right.
Okay?
And the thing is, too, if you're going off this logic, which I really like your logic, I never really thought of it this way. Let's just say we use that compartment to feed other equipment. Is that permitted? You know what I mean? Because we're using that as it's an outlet, but we're using it as a junction box technically to feed our service receptacle. Let's just say.
Trust me, I'm not even close to being done to prove this point. But if I look at 314.16 now listen to what it says. Number of conductors and outlet. It doesn't say the outlet is in the box. Okay, show me in the code where it says the outlet is in the box. See, this is the fairy dust. They're just sprinkling on there, picking and choosing so they can have an argument. And what I've been saying, the outlet is the box. But you can look at this and say, I don't agree with what that means. But yet, he just stated the outlet's in the box. But yet, if I do box fill calculations, my device, oh, looky there, I have equipment fill. Well, is there a possibility I could have utilization equipment that could be inside a box of some type? Sure it can. And I'm going to prove that here in a minute too. Okay. So if I'm going to do that, that means I have to have what? I have to calculate that outlet since it's at the utilization equipment that's in the box. But wait a minute. Yeah. If it's utilization equipment, how can the outlet be in the box? I thought it was at the utilization equipment.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's mind-blowing right there. How can that possibly be? But I'm not.
Yeah, like do we calculate for the capacitor? Do we calculate for the contactor? No, because that's governed by the UL standard. They're saying there's enough room in there.
Sure. And this needs to be, they need to take and they need to delete this here if it's true based on what they're saying. If I go over to a motor, didn't they tell us before, if I go over to a motor, that was the outlet? Didn't they tell us that? Yeah. So, don't worry. I will get to 315B and I'm going to show you where that's wrong too. Now, matter of fact, since you brought it up, bring that back up. I'm going to handle that right now too.
Oh, 315B?
Yeah. Now, let's go over and take a look at 315B. I don't have my code book here. I don't need it because I know what the code says. But when you go over there and you look at that, it says approved equipment. Okay? Now, you notice it doesn't say listed and labeled. Why is that? You know why that is, Fred? Can you give me an example of why it's not listed and labeled? Because if it's listed and labeled, that means it was designed by what? UL standards and the National Electrical Code, and it has a listing and label on it letting you know that, yeah, it has been designed and it takes into consideration for that weatherproof location because you're installing it outside for this phantom outdoor outlet they're calling. But I would digress on that. If that is the case, let's take it a little bit step further. Then it says approved equipment. Okay, well, if I go look at approved, what does approved say in Article 100 of the National Electrical Code? It says acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction. So if I'm an inspector and I go out there and look and I have AC equipment out there and I see that this supposed outlet's out there and it's not rated for a wet location, then guess what? That equipment hasn't been listed and labeled for that location. That's how I would view that as an inspector.
True.
Okay.
No, that's a good point. And then the other thing that I will, kind of take a little bit step further too, is that you as the inspector, all I have to do is show you that manufacturer instructions, no GFCI, boom, pass.
That's right. And look at this. If you pick up the second little paragraph here, look at this. It says, this section shall not apply to terminal housing supplied with motors or generators. Oh, my God. Yeah. How can that be? I don't understand. Yeah. That is not possible because I thought there was an outlet there.
CMP 11 just said there was no out there, that there was an outlet there.
Yeah. You know why it's telling you this right here is because they know the motor pecker head that's right there. It's not designed where it has a listing and labeling where you have to size it as a box right there that's being used as the outlet. They're telling you that's not an outlet right there. That's why I don't have to follow the rules for sizing an outlet. But that's okay. Let's go a little further and see if I'm right here. Okay. Now let's look at dimensions of boxes. Oh, well, that's interesting. It says outlet and device boxes. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Why wouldn't they just call it an outlet box? Why do they have to say device box? Oh, outlet, device, and junction boxes. Oh, so basically what you're telling me is if I have a round or octagonal box, I have a square box, something like that could be used for an outlet, which is, let's say I have a switch over here on the wall and I go up here in the ceiling and I've got a octagon box up there in the ceiling. Guess what? That's your outlet, which is once again what? The box. Okay. Yeah. But how can that possibly be? Because if I've got the fixture that's hooked into it, I thought that was the utilization equipment and the fixture was the outlet. But yet it's telling me here that is the outlet. But let's see what it says. Outlet and device boxes shall have approved dimensions. Oh, well, that's interesting because it's telling me that the outlet box, or I could have a device box. Oh, yeah. Well, why would they say device box? Oh, I know why. Because that's where I'd put a switch or a receptacle in. But let's go ahead and look what A and B say. It gets into the depth. Oh, looky there. Once again, it says outlet boxes. Oh, why did they just call it outlet boxes? Oh, that's right. Because we're not enclosing any devices or utilization equipment. Wow, that's interesting. So I have an outlet box there. If I'm not enclosed, like if I got a ceiling box up there, I'm not enclosing anything. I don't have any type of device or utilization equipment. They basically just told me in that heading right there that octagon box in the ceiling is my outlet. Wow, that possibly can't be. Now, if that's the case, that means any conductors going through there, hell, I could have a lighting fixture, and we went over this in our thing that we're doing for the master and journeyman calculations. But I could go up there and have a fixture and it has a canopy. And we went through,
Okay.
oh, guess what? If I have a canopy, I don't have to count them conductors. But any
Okay.
conductors running through that are making connections, anything like that, guess what? I have to count those conductors in order to do what? Size the box, which is considered the outlet box.
True. And I was gonna say that we've actually ran into that before, where we've had like these smaller style boxes that only accommodate one cable, just barely. Like you might be like point 0.5 over, and then
Mm-hmm.
we use the over what we were over, like the wire nets and everything else, into the canopy. So to us, we're calculating that outlet. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like we're where the outlet is in between the box, the outlet box, and the utilization equipment.
Sure.
So
I'm,
the outlet is actually outside of the utilization equipment.
oh, yeah.
The
And
outlet is not inside the utilization equipment, it's outside the utilization equipment. And
exactly.
that's one thing that they can't do with this whole hardwired equipment thing. You know, why did they have to go do 210.8D? Why did they have to go specific equipment and then take it out of CMP 17's hands and put it in their own hands and say, no, you guys are too stupid to do this, so we're going to go take this over and we're going to say what you have to have for GFCI protection, and they didn't put HVAC equipment in there. Why not?
I've
They should
stated
have
that a long
put
time ago.
they should have put HVAC equipment in there and deleted 210.8F. The
Well,
end.
they waited after the fact, and it went exactly back to what I said. They come back and then they said, well, it needs AC. This includes AC equipment, and that's the thing I said. They didn't have technical merit to do that, and they knew it. And that's when they come back and had to do the TIA. So, in other words, like I've stated before, if you actually had technical merit that this was a problem, then it would then the work by a task group or somebody or a testing lab would have went out and did the investigation and would have known right away that you were going to have a problem with compatibility at the very least.
So my biggest thing on this one is, where's the testing on compatibility for lift stations? Where's the compatibility for gate motors? Where's the compatibility for LED drivers? Where's all these studies for all this stuff that could be installed out there?
Well,
Like, I
sure.
mean, the list is long as hell.
Well, I won't go for Fan to come answer these questions here that I'm showing. So
Hmm.
here in B is the depth and outlet boxes. Now look, this is where I have enclosed devices or utilization equipment. Now that's going to be
Hmm.
interesting because I'm going to tie this right back. But looky here, they're telling me that I can have within that box utilization equipment. Holy
Yeah,
crap. Well, how can that be? I thought the utilization equipment was the outlet.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
It connects to them
Inquiring minds want to
automatically.
really know how that works. Oh, don't worry. It's just like when the manufacturer tells you not to add GFCI protection, but yet now I've got two GFCIs. Now I guess we have two outlets there. Just ignore it. You
Yeah.
know, stuff like that. Now look at
Oh
here.
yeah.
Now here's 314.27. Look, it says outlet boxes. Holy crap. So the heading is outlet boxes. And the first one talks about boxes at luminaire or lamp holder outlets. And then it says they're designed to support the luminaires or lamp holders. Oh, you got to be kidding. How can an outlet box take and support a luminaire or lamp holder if the utilization equipment's outlet? Oh,
Yeah.
man. But it gets better. Now look at this. In C, it says outlet boxes are outlet box systems. Oh, that's interesting. In other words, this is a listed type box system because I'm supporting ceiling suspended paddle fans. Now, I go by that outlet box system. Do you think, in order to make sure that they have the amount of proper fill inside that box, that they had to follow the conductor counts that are in 314.16B1 through 5?
Yeah.
Sure, they had to make sure there was more than enough room in there not to pinch those cables. That's interesting. Okay,
But
but I'm not
you
done.
just you just have to know though, what we could do is we could just move the outlet to the utilization equipment. We don't have to follow that.
Oh, yeah. Now, looky here. This is interesting. The heading is still outlet boxes, and then you go to D, utilization equipment. Now, wait a minute. How can this possibly be? They have told me that if I go look at the definition of individual branch circuit, that is going to an individual piece of utilization equipment, and I go pick up the definition of an outlet, and it's there at the utilization equipment. But right here, oh, this sounds interesting because it says in 314.27, the heading is outlet boxes. Then I come down, pick up utilization equipment, and what does it say? Boxes used for the support of utilization equipment other than what we just looked at, ceiling suspended paddle fans shall meet the requirements for the support of a luminaire that is the same size and weight. Oh, that just possibly can't be. How can you have an outlet box when it's the utilization equipment that's supposed to be the outlet? This is amazing. But we'll go a little further. Now they got these new ones, which are called WSCRs. These are weight-supported ceiling receptacles and weight-supporting attachment fins. Well, looky there. Yeah. It goes right in, and it talks about outlet boxes again. Oh, well, this is interesting. So if I have this weight-supported ceiling receptacle in there, that's a device, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, God, it is a device. Oh, that can't be correct. But let's make sure we're getting this right. So I've got a device, and I'm going to take and put it up into a what? Oh, my God, a receptacle outlet. There's actually definitions for that. But it gets better because the last sentence of this says, where the WSCR is installed, it shall be included in the box fill calculation in 314. Oh, you got to freaking be kidding me. That can't be correct.
Yeah.
Where did I start at? 314.16. It's taking me right back. But let's go a little further. Let's see if what I said was right. A receptacle is what? A contact device.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And looky there. It says it's installed where? At the outlet. Oh, you freaking got to be kidding me. Okay, let's go a little bit further. Then look, I've got a receptacle weight supporting ceiling. Look here, a contact device installed at where? Oh, there's no way it can be an outlet box again. How is that possible? So then I go look at a receptacle outlet. Oh no, this can't be. It literally is an outlet where one or more receptacles are installed. But yet, an outlet is a point by Jeremy. So if it's a point and I'm only sizing the box, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. If an outlet is a point, how do I calculate that outlet?
You don't have to size a point.
Well, I'm looking at receptacle outlet here. It doesn't say anything about a box, does it?
No.
No, it says it's an outlet.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. You guys are picking and choosing when you want to use it and not use it. See, that's where I get in and I start looking at all this. And this is just a small sample of what the code-making pounds are going to get that think it's installed at the equipment. I'm bringing all this up, and I'm going to have commentary. It'll probably be about 10 pages long by the time I'm finished with it. I'm going to show the discrepancies all through the code where this isn't correct. And
I agree.
And this is just a small little sample. Now, Gopher fan, whoever it is that is on there. Now, are you going to disagree with everything I said here? You going to disagree with a receptacle outlet? Because it doesn't say box there. Y'all are so wanting, what does the wording say? Okay. Well, I'm telling you, the wording says it's an outlet. It has nothing to do with the box.
Right.
Okay. So, we can play the game both ways, but